Pass the controller.
All right, this is a belated in-the-week recording time of Pass the Controller. I am one of your hosts, Casey Hupke, here tonight with...
Richard Chabin. Hello, Internet.
And my brother...
Darren Hupke.
And this is our second episode. This is our actual second episode. It's our fourth technical episode. The first two, as we mentioned in the previous one, never going to see the light of day. We had a pretty good amount of listeners on the first one.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming out and listening. Hope you guys pass it on to some friends. No pun intended. And
Pass the controller.
Pass the controller. Darren made that intro, and on one of the first Foesodes, he shipped the audio intro over the episode back to me. And I was listening to it, and I was like, "Whoa, man, you gotta take it easy on the soundboard." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "You have effects just running wild on this thing." And he had this long track of Street Fighter effects that were just kept going. So over the whole first 5 minutes of the podcast, it's just go.
Yeah, I was cutting it up, and I just slid it over out of my workspace, and I was like, "All right, cool, boom, done, got it."
No, so that should tell you, future employers of Darren, if you happen to catch this before you hire him, he doesn't check for errors.
I checked for errors. I listened to the full introduction.
He left
the whole introduction. I listened to, and it was fine. It was just if I scrolled down the way a few minutes, then it popped back up.
Yeah, but last week, you guys, those that weren't listening to us, sorry, we Mulligan. Yeah, if you listened last week, you know that this week we're going to be talking about some of our most memorable moments in gaming, or the games that we've completed the hell out of.
Obsessively 100%ed, or spent 100 hours in, or were consumed with.
Yeah, and for some of these games, I'm sure it's it's even we went to school or work, and we're thinking about what we were going to do in the game when we got home.
Yeah.
Or waking up 4 hours before school to get game time in before getting on the school bus.
Yes.
Oh, man, you guys can remember back that far in life? In that kind of detail?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
My memory's not that good from my sandwich eating days, so I don't know if I can go that far back.
Oh, it's a callback. Nice. We got a callback from the last episode.
That's right.
Yeah, well, I had some pretty clear sandwich uninhibited years before I really started playing with sandwiches.
Man,
but yeah,
that turkey melt just gets to you, doesn't it?
It does. Watch How I Met Your Mother if you don't know what we're talking about. Just watch it anyway. It's fucking awesome. And if you tweet at me saying, "Oh, but Casey, I went and watched How I Met Your Mother and it has a laugh track," well, shut the fuck up. Seinfeld had a laugh track too.
Yeah, I'm straight. But yeah, so who wants to kick it off? Who's got a game that they loved?
But wait,
that
we've got news.
Oh, let's do that.
Bang, 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 bang.
News.
Yeah, I've got some news to talk about then too.
All right, kick it off, Darren. News.
Well, I'm not a Nintendo hater. I want to get that out there. I've got a Mario and Luigi tattoo. I mean, I love my Nintendo, but they're idiots. With their hardware design as of the last 3 generations of hardware they've produced. But the Wii U, they had the same problem with the GameCube from 64 to GameCube, and then from GameCube to Wii. They claimed they were going to have that third-party support that they lacked for a majority of the previous console cycle. And when the Wii launched, they had oh look, we've got all the third parties on board. We've got Call of Duty, we've got Tony Hawk, and they had these inferior ports of all of the 360 and PS3 games at the time that were out there. And, people just kind of, thought oh, it was a great sign. But, after about 2 cycles of games, the rest of the console life was just waiting those long droughts for Nintendo's first party games while you just had these crap budget games. But when the Wii U was announced, everyone was the game developers were talking about how their engines and their hardware were running on the console. It was essentially, pumped up versions of current gen stuff. The Wii U was a powerful, on paper, it was as powerful as a PS3 and a 360, if not better. But, we had at launch, you've had Mass Effect, you had Darksiders, Tekken Tag, you had these third party games and it looked like, oh, look, there's, a decent support level here. But now, and wasn't there a Battlefield game or no? Or was there talk of a Battlefield game?
There was also Ninja Gaiden Razor's Edge.
Oh, yeah.
But like to your point, like even all those games that was supposed third party support, they're all just remakes. They're all just ports.
They ported over existing finished code, to the Wii U.
To me, like some sort of third party support would be, hey, these people back us in a way that they have original games coming out on our system to highlight our system, and that's not really the case. Even today, if you look at what's coming out for the Wii U, there's nothing exciting besides, kids like movie based games and crap like that.
Or that long wait. Yeah.
I mean, I would
games like Wonder Book. Oh wait, that's PlayStation 3.
I was really, really looking forward to Pikmin. I loved Pikmin on GameCube. And that's just a puzzle game that I really enjoy. And it was supposed to come out in about a month and a week. And I went to check the other day, and guess what? It got moved to the ominous 1/1/2014 date. So who knows when the hell it's going to come out now? And for no reason. Like, it just got pushed back all of a sudden.
That's the problem. Like, I mean, Nintendo makes excellent games when they actually make them. So. I mean, what I don't understand is, when they finished making Pikmin 2, and they had their internal teams designing their next hardware, and the Wii was being developed. That control, the controller for the Wii was just built for a Pikmin experience. And the fact that they weren't immediately putting that team to work on a next generation version of it, of its existing game. It made no sense. It wasn't a Pikmin at all during the entire Wii generation, except that you had those, best of ports.
The new Play Control, where there was the same Pikmins with Wii Control.
Well, there was also, to step in on Nintendo's defense for a minute, we did have Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2, which were game-changing platformers. They took the genre that they already owned with Super Mario Brothers as a platformer, as a defining platformer, or the defining platformer, and just completely redid it and awesomized it even more.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Super Mario Galaxy. I really liked it.
And they're going to have some sweet stuff coming out with that Unreal 4 engine, aren't they?
No, well, that's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm building to.
I know. I just spoiler alert. I stole it.
But yeah, let's just
keep on flying.
Let's just get this out of there then. The third party support they're claiming they had, that they pretend or falsely displayed at the launch with all those ports. They have now had companies come out and saying the Unreal Engine 4 is not going to be compatible with the Wii U. They won't have that engine properly running on a Wii U to port their games or to simultaneously develop and release games using it on their platform. As well as the next Battlefield was announced that it would not be on the Wii U at all. Period. So I mean, you have these big franchises, and you have a huge middleware tool set that a majority of developers have been using these days that is not even going to function on their platform. So. That's a huge blow to this third party support that they continue to claim that they're always going to have, and they never do, and they never deliver with. But what makes it worse is that they're not wise enough to continue to put out their own solid games in a regular release span. The fact that after Skyward Sword they weren't already having that Zelda team to develop the next Zelda game.
They are
instead. No, after
Wind Waker HD.
Exactly. So Skyward Sword comes out. They know that they should get crack on the next one. They haven't. They waited, forever. They sat on their hands.
Dude, that's going to sell hundreds of consoles.
Wind Waker HD will be great, and I will enjoy it. But the fact that it's going to be prolonging the wait for a next legitimate original Zelda game is just super frustrating. They could give 2-3 years between their games, but they give 4 or 5 years between their games. It's frustrating.
When the Wii 2 comes out in 4 years, they'll have the Zelda that comes out simultaneously at the end of the Wii U's life cycle and the beginning of the Wii 2's life cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, come on, we just got Skyward Sword. Yeah, sure, it was the end of the Wii's life cycle, but, I think Sony is basically going to take over the indie market. I think that they're going to like.
Yeah.
There's so many companies that are like after a lot of the announcements they had at the GDC about making releasing apps in the PlayStation Network store. There's a lot of companies that are talking about being Vita focused development shops and like studios that are saying, well, we can make this game for a Vita, and because of the code, because of the platform, because of the touch already existing, we have these libraries set up. We can port these games from the Vita to iPhone and Android. Like, we can start out as the Vita as the testbed for the application, or the iPhone as a testbed for the application, and then release it on these other platforms. And I think that the way Sony's approaching it is really cool. And so I just read this on some blog, IGN or Kotaku or EG Gamer, blah blah, somewhere.
Kotaku. Ugh.
I don't read Kotaku. It's impossible to know. I didn't read it on Kotaku because that would mean they had information. PlayStation Network Classics Volume 1 was rated by the ESRB, and it has Fat Princess, When Vikings Attack, two other games. But it was rated, and it looks like it's going to be a PlayStation Network download, and that just sounds awesome. Like releasing indie bundled games that were like big hits as one download to like recirculate it, get the games out there again, and put them in packages. Doing the same way that there's like the Humble bundles and Steam has their their indie sales and stuff. I think it's great the way that PlayStation's looks like they're like waking up. And in other Japanese companies that are waking up news, Square Enix is like getting almost shut down. Like
No, they're not.
They're financial. They're like basically they're effectively being removed of their like they're basically going to be put on like a carrot and a string type business model where their finances and everything are put into like a sorted checklist. All their assets and everything are being adjusted and analyzed. They're going to take care of their profits. They're going to take their money, and they're going to make them basically prove that they can keep making games.
Yeah, well, that's a good reason for doing that. I mean, like the former president stepped down, and like that's giving the company like the chance to do something intelligent again. Like the last guy was the one who ran them into the ground with their terrible business decision.
With their everything.
The sequels he greenlit and the games he okayed, and just the direction he was taking them in was not good for the company. So I see this as a great shed some fat, shed some weight that that they had on them, and then refocus and possibly be a better company after the end of it.
Oh, yeah, I see this nothing but a good thing.
Sorry, when you think about it, like what is it that they're really? I mean, they just released Tomb Raider that they had bought out,
which they considered a failure,
which was considered a failure. But if you look at it, it sold already approximately 3.5 million copies.
Yeah,
which is actually less than they reported on. They said that they said 4 million.
Yeah, but for any game to sell 3.5 million copies is actually really good. So
yeah.
Like, what was their internal forecast that for them that was a failure?
No, it's
like,
not. It's not the forecast. When you forecast a budget like that, you have to think like if 4 million copies at $65 a pop or whatever was an internal failure. Well, what were they doing? How were they managing their teams? What were they spending their money on internally to lose that much money?
Well, it could have been the fact that not just they weren't like looking at the game's budget versus the game's profits. It could have been the game's profits versus the company's budget. So like they were like, okay, we expect these next games coming out in these next quarters to earn this amount of money back in, so that we can be in a good position as a company. So maybe the game, based on its own personal budget, was fine, but they just were hoping that it was going to earn a significant chunk more to help the company overall, across the board.
I mean, if look at Square, they must be horribly mismanaging their money. If you look at 3 games that they released that were original, well, maybe not completely original IPs, but reboots in a sense, and an original IP since November of last year. So Sleeping Dogs, Hitman Absolution, and Tomb Raider, all with Metacritic scores over 80, all sold over 1.5 million copies or more. with both Tomb Raider and Hitman over like 3.5 million. What are they doing with their money?
Yeah.
And that's not counting all their Final Fantasy remakes that I see them sell all the time.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 13, 12 just sold like.
Yeah.
But remember, guys. Remember at the start.
I'm just saying. Like, what?
Remember, they're begging.
This must be horrible mismanagement for them to be in this type of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember, they're begging us to be excited for E3. Remember, remember them on stage at the Sony presentation. Please be excited for E3.
Well, what I
Please
think is
be excited.
what I think so weird was last year at E3, their booth was nothing but like the new like IDOS and those European company like showcase. Like it was Sleeping Dogs and Hitman and Tomb Raider and like there was nothing like high profile that had like more than 3 displays, or like a huge like colored poster, like plastered somewhere that was like an actual legitimate like native Japanese Square title, which is kind of weird. So I mean, like they were doing so poorly that it's the IDOS and that branch that's actually even kept them, giving them a chance to be able to do this like reboot, refresh of their whole company.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
But on other news, we lost LucasArts today,
Yeah. Wah, wah.
which was sad. I was a big fan of their early day games. Their Grim Fandangos and all their Day of the Tentacle. Those were some of my favorite games as a young teenager. That was probably my first foray into, besides my Mario stuff, but into like PC stuff and like really getting like hooked on a game because of a storyline or something that kept me interested because I was like, oh, what's going to happen next? Because Mario, I always knew I was just trying to kill it.
You knew the princess was in another castle.
I was just trying to move through the next level, So, all their games really held a really special place in my heart. So it's kind of like sad to see them gone. But in the last 10 years or so, all they've been doing is really making Star Wars factory machine games. So
Yeah.
maybe it's a new start in a different direction, but I don't think Disney's going to take it maybe the way we would like to see it go.
Did anyone catch the Last of Us trailer?
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I thought that was cool.
It was amazing. Every day I'm getting more pumped to play that game.
Yeah, I can't wait to play that.
I'm super jacked.
Yeah. Cool.
I think there was. I thought there was something else in the news that was worth. Oh no, that's a later section. What we're excited for. Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get into what games we've been
Lost ourselves in.
Yeah, we've been gluttons for. You want to start, Rich?
Yeah, like I said, my memory isn't as great as your guys's, but I know like in recent years, Assassin's Creed 2 was a game that I literally played nonstop for weeks, every day, as much time as I could fit in. And I want to preface this. We're saying we just got, we're not talking about achievements, platinum. Sometimes there's, like we were talking last week, there's some achievements that are just outright ridiculous. And I'm not really one to go an achievement whore. Like, I feel the need that I need to get all of the achievements. But Assassin's Creed 2 was a game that I got every single achievement in and just not even trying. Like, I just found myself wanting to play it nonstop and do every single thing I could touch in that game. And I think partially it was because I hated the first one so much, but wanted to love it, that when I got the second one and they had fixed a lot of the bullshit that I didn't like from the first one, I just found myself lost in it. The story was good. The mechanics were a lot better, albeit not, they weren't like perfect, but they were, it was an awesome game. And it was the whole Ezio storyline I thought was cool. That era, I really like history. So that era in history was something I was really intrigued in, and I really just got lost in that game. So yeah, I did everything I could do in that game.
I like that one a lot. I think that one, that Assassin's Creed game, was definitely really fun for me. There's going to be spoilers in this. Just FYI, we're going to be talking about games that we played the shit out of, and we can't give you guys fourth grade like book stories like. And then the main character found his friend, and I liked the way that they had the world. So, what were some of your favorite moments, like in the story, that you just had you like wow, that was soldiers.
I don't know. I just thought the whole when I go into games sometimes, especially when they're historical periods or they're tied in somewhat to the real world, I never know what to expect. And I thought it was just really neat how they tied it into the whole like Borgia storyline, like with that family. They have that show going on I don't know what cable channel it's on, but I know they have a show
HBO.
going on about the Borgias. What?
HBO.
I don't think it's on HBO.
Yeah, the Borgias. It's either Showtime or HBO, but
I think it's like Showtime then. But basically, I don't watch that show. But that coming from a family that was Catholic and like growing up with that, and me enjoying history, the Borgias were a fucked up, just corrupt family. That the head of the family ended up being Pope and all this crazy stuff, and they were just bad people. So I was really intrigued by the way that the game tied into that and how it gave me like a real reflection of how these assassins interacted with these people in history and kind of helped carve out that part of history. And that's what really got me into the series and got me excited for everything. Like, I think from there forward is when they really found their place with that game. And I don't know. I just loved it. I loved every aspect of it.
But what specifically of that? Like did you get like Michelangelo's hang glider and you use the hang glider and drop down in a like a Colosseum or something and stab the Pope in the face, or like what was one of your like what was like a gaming moment in that experience that you had where you were just like, this is great, I love this.
Again, I loved every aspect of it. Everything to me seemed new compared to the first game. I can't tell you how much I hated the first game.
No, I mean, like, let me give you an example. Like when I was playing Assassin's Creed,
I know what you're saying. I can't pick one point. I can't.
Well, I'm gonna give you one of mine. I used to just casually walk in groups of people and start stabbing someone. And then I would just run from the guards as long as I could until I got lost.
Okay. So my favorite thing to do in the game was to troll rooftops, rooftop to rooftop, seeing how many guards on the roofs I could take out by either stabbing them from the back or by just silently shooting my once you get the what the fuck is it? Because you had the gun in that one, right? Like the 1 bullet or the 2 bullet like pistol thing.
You had the little wrist rocket thing, didn't you?
Exactly. In the beginning, before I had that, I would just go basically roof to roof. I would go across the entire map without touching the floor, just trying to take out every single person on the roof without getting killed or without getting noticed. And I would just have fun doing that. I would probably do that for an hour at a time and just kicking ass. So that's kind of what I like to do in Assassin's Creed 2. And I loved making money in Monteregione. I spent all my time in the beginning just bulking it up so that I would be super uber rich and never have to worry about anything.
Nice. Yeah, I went like you were saying how jump from rooftop to rooftop ending. This isn't the game I want to talk about, but in Fallout 3, I did something similar where I was just like on a trail of like robbing people, and and I ended up like just like going down my trail robbing people, and this is New Vegas. Sorry, not Fallout 3. And I'd run into people that would be like, hey, do this for me. And I'd be like, yeah, fuck it. Sure, I'll do that for you. And, like, in no time, I was at some point in the game where I was, like, basically at Vegas. And I was talking to Darren. And he was like, yeah, dude, you're, like, almost at the end of the game right now. Like, what quest are you on? I was like, I gotta go, like, stop some people, kill these people for this guy. And he's like, yeah, dude, no, seriously, if you do that, like, you're gonna like, pick who's taking over New Vegas. Like, you're like at the end of the game. You should go back and start doing the rest of the quests.
So you had inadvertently gone through the whole game?
No, I just jumped. Like I just skipped a whole bunch of zones that I could have spent time in. But the game that I know last week on the cast I said Final Fantasy VII is the game that I'll be talking about, and I think it's a little easy. I could talk about that for hours. I have thousands of little moments in that game, from hunting for Yuffie in the woods to the mini game, the mini tower defense games, to the stupid fighting ring in the nugget, whatever.
Gold saucer.
The gold saucer. But the game that I picked is Grand Theft Auto 3 because I think it's like it's like my fondest memory of the pass the controller mentality. My brother Darren, who's the other, one of the hosts of this cast, and our two good friends Austin and Thomas, we had Grand Theft Auto 3. And I remember I had like my first like legit job that I held for longer than a week when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, and I was like, dude, Darren, I think I'm gonna go buy a PlayStation 2 and get Grand Theft Auto 3.
What was this job? Just for my curiosity.
I worked at Auntie M's Pretzels in the Brea Mall.
All right.
I was pulling in a cool $98 a week. I could buy things.
Baller. This was like what, 10 years ago?
More than that.
All right, sweet. So these are the days of like dollar gas. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. You didn't have to purchase Grand Theft Auto 3 because I mean I had that game pre-ordered from GameStop, State College and Lincoln location, and I was underage, and I was able to go down, and the third key manager there, this guy named Dustin, I will call out. I have no idea where he is in life now, but he sold it to me as 14-year-old me. He sold me the M-rated Grand Theft Auto 3 day of release.
And we couldn't get our PlayStation 2 working, and we were really, really bummed about not being able to get our PlayStation 2 working because it was having that same disc problem that happened to a lot of people.
The disc read error.
The disc read error. Yeah, no, because I remember I went and I was like, all right, well, I'll go buy a new PlayStation 2. And we took that PlayStation 2 back and traded it in, I think. Either way, I bought a new PlayStation 2, brought it home, and we just started playing. And I remember that was like that was like the sandbox. That was like the beginning of the sandbox. I remember finding those the little packages and stuff throughout the cities. And
there's 100 hidden packages in that game.
Yeah, and that was like this looking for those things was like, oh man, I remember at one point we found a guide where they all were, but we already found so many. We were like, we don't know what the fuck ones we found. This guide is how to get them all from package 0 to package 100.
What sucked about that was we literally had probably found 76 of them, and so at that point. You're gonna have to follow where the guide says, and you're gonna hit a majority of ones you've already found before it was more work than it was worth to try and follow out to get the rest. Yeah,
and from the things of having once you have a certain amount of cars in a garage, and this car's open, and once you just the stupid little things that we would do. There's so much sandbox in that game. Everyone in this generation of gaming and the previous generation of gaming and the generations of gaming to come are going to know how big that game is for the rest of us. Not 4, though, because that sucked. But my favorite thing to do, and this is unrivaled in any of the Grand Theft Autos to follow, none of them were as fun to do it in, was something that we developed called the 5-Star Challenge. And the 5-Star Challenge's object was to get 5 stars. 5-star rating would mean that the military was effectively after you. Tanks would come in, helicopters. It would be very, very hard to stay alive. And the goal was not to get to 5 stars the fastest, but to get to 5 stars and stay at 5 stars for the longest period of time. We had sanctions in the rules, where you could use where you couldn't use any cheats. Unless they were to spawn a vehicle before you had 5 stars. If you wanted to have one of the FBI cars to start off with, for instance.
Those are good cars.
They were really good cars to have. And we already had pretty much everything at the base, so at some point in the 5-Star Challenge, it doesn't matter how many times you pick up the armor. A tank is just going to blow you up. You're not going to survive. So you can't really camp out at one of your locations. But man, sometimes we'd be in runs where we'd find a spot on top of a roof where you think that you're safe from everything, and you just sit up there just rocket launching, shooting up cars, but then you're out of ammo, and you got to get down and find more ammo to do something. Otherwise, the helicopters are just going to get you. And we would pass the controller around every death just for hours. It was amazing.
I prided myself in the ability to not, it wasn't I could do it better than anybody necessarily, but I like to think I could. But just in a car, just being just driving on the streets and all that stuff. and rather than trying to like hole up on like a rooftop or try and like put your back against the wall and see how long you could hold off for section to section. But on the third island of Grand Theft Auto 3, like the Shoreside Vale area and all that stuff, I always thought that was just the most difficult to drive around in. And there's like that residential area that had like roads that zigzagged up and down like in these hills, and there was like that dam area. It was like really difficult to travel around in that section of the city. And I remember it like the 5-star challenging always being like super difficult in that area. So I'd always go to back to that middle island where there's just like so many like long runs of streets and stuff, and I would just try and drive as much as I could like around a lap in the island. And sometimes I would have a challenge within this self-made challenge of going from one island to the other while in 5 stars. And
oh yeah, that was always fun to see how much distance you can travel in a car, because tanks would just like just glitch in out of nowhere. They would just like because you'd be driving so fast that the level of detail in front of you that was visible, a tank would all of a sudden just be right there and just blow you up.
Yeah, those are good games. That was such a good game. I mean, everything about the Grand Theft Auto 3, like when it was released, people don't realize it now because some of those people, their first Grand Theft Autos were later ones,
like San Andreas, where they're like jumping off a cliff off of an ATV with a parachute, and then uploading the video to YouTube saying like, longest base jump in Grand Theft Auto history. Yeah.
I mean, but in 3, it was insane. Like the stuff packed into it, and like the fun side stuff to do, like just taxi missions or the ambulance missions, or like the finding those unique stunts and like the jumps that would like you go to that cinematic angle and slow mo you through the air, and like all the hidden packages and
no warning with those things either. You would just all of a sudden be like,
oh yeah,
and like you were, oh shit, what's happening? I hope I land.
Yeah. Oh man, those were good. That game was good.
God, it's such an amazing game, and I think Vice City had to an extent some of those memories, but I think after playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and how much I did in it, how much we did in it, none of those other games after that have ever like scratched that itch, like by a long shot.
I probably could recreate the full 3-island map of Grand Theft Auto 3. Probably to 90% accuracy, like the side streets, and major locations, like draw it out for you by memory. I can't do the same for the rest of the Grand Theft Autos.
You can't do the same for Fullerton.
No, I could. I'm good. I like my geography skills, but that game is that's so ingrained in me. Like I would literally like to maybe have like somebody blindly have the map and me not see it, and then just draw out as much as I could from memory and see how close it would be. Because I think I would rock that shit.
Yeah. Amazing game.
Sweet, Darren. So which Metal Gear are you going to tell us about?
Well, you guys are wrong. It's not Metal Gear.
Suikoden.
No. Well, I played, like, when I was younger...
Let's not talk about Suikoden, dude.
Those were good games, dude. So
no, but I just remember this, like, when it was either Suikoden 4 or 5 when it was coming out, there was this commercial that would play at the store all day long. And it was the worst commercial ever because
it was like, 4. It was 4.
You know that in Suikoden 1, and then there was Suikoden 2, and then in Suikoden 3, but now it's Suikoden 4. And I was like, this is the stupidest commercial I've ever seen in my life. And it just made me hate and never want to look at that game ever again in my life.
Those were good games. But I am going to talk about like the Metal Gear Solid 3, but... that's not before I touch on Super Mario 64, like another revolutionary game in my life.
But that's the game? That's the game you picked?
No. Metal Gear Solid 3 is the game that, like, I'm going to pick, as my best. But I want to touch on
Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64?
No, I'm just saying, like that's the game? Like
I have a top list of my all-time favorite games, and I know definitively where the top 4 place. Like, I could numerically tell you my favorite game of all time.
Favorite game of all time.
You want to know? I'm going to really spill these. I feel if I say these 4, I'm going to be constantly called out on it. I won't say them in order.
No, just give us the 4. Order. Okay, give us 4 that are in the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Rich and I will try to guess which ones are which.
Okay, Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, that better be 1.
Final Fantasy 7. Metal Gear Solid 3. And Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Okay, here's the order.
And Super Mario 64. That's top 5 right there.
Okay, so here's the order. Symphony of the Night, Metal Gear Solid 3, Final Fantasy 7, And God, what was the other one on the fourth?
Super Mario 64 and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Tony Hawk's no. Super Mario 64, then Tony Hawk Pro Skater. No, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, then Super Mario 64.
Okay, you're wrong.
I'm gonna say Metal Gear Solid 3, then Castlevania, then Final Fantasy, Super Mario 64, Tony Hawk.
You know, Super Mario 64 is number 5 because he listed the 4 games first.
No. I've recently been able to mentally distinguish 3 as in my top 5. You know, like in that list. Like
All right,
before,
what's your number 1?
Number 1 is Final Fantasy 7. It's my favorite game of all time.
Really?
I know it's dumb. It's dumb, but it was just my age. You know, like it was the right time to like play a game like that, or like because as a kid,
It's still mine. It's still mine, man.
I always had the RPG itch, even as a young child, and like we played, like we had like Phantasy Star 3 on the Genesis. You know, we always wanted to play Final Fantasy 3 at like our uncle's house. He never let us. I played like a lot of like 16-bit RPGs, you know, but I was never able to sink enough time into them or like own them fully to like really get immersed in them. And then Final Fantasy 7 came along right when me and my brother had, you know, like the PS1, and we were like ready for it. And like,
So
we weren't ready for it. We didn't own a memory card. Yeah, what do we do?
We would see how far we could get without saving it.
Yeah, in a single sitting, and we'd try and like keep it going. Well, I think one Saturday, you know, one day off from school,
we got
spent
out
like
of Midgar.
7.5. Yeah, we spent like 7.5, 8 hours, and we got to that first town right outside of Midgar. But you get rocked into like this 40-minute long like dialogue cutscene thing where like Cloud kind of starts to explain some of his backstory, and it's always just like that's not the best thing to do when you're 8 hours into a single sitting of a game. You know, it's like, oh, okay, that's enough. You know, the PlayStation's overheating.
Yeah, for you youngins that don't understand what this means, there was no saving active progress if you didn't have a memory card. There was nothing to save anything on. There was no like checkpoint. If you died, that game was over.
Yeah.
There wasn't just like starting the battle over again with a cached save file or something like that. Nothing was saved. We did the same thing with Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2 had the same situation. We had to keep going.
We got to a save point.
Well, it didn't even matter. It didn't even matter if we got to a save point because we didn't have a memory card. So we weren't even going to be able to save it.
You didn't have a memory card.
No, we couldn't save.
Yeah, it was.
I thought you were just doing it as a challenge. I didn't know you were memory card challenged.
Yeah, we remember that challenge.
Memory card challenge.
We were financially handicapped.
And yeah, Resident Evil 2 was worse because we went through that game. We got to there's like a little like a streetcar on like this octagon shaped platform that lowers into a laboratory after all the police station stuff's done, and you fight like the William Birkin like tyrant thing, and we literally ran out of ammo in the fight. We had no health items, no ammo, nothing. We had just the knife, and the controller was passed to our friend Thomas, and all he could do was run around attempting to kill this boss with just the knife, and it was not going to happen.
It was hilarious watching it though, because he was like standing up like because I don't know if anyone of younger generations or even current generations remember playing a control scheme that was designed on the Atari 64.
Atari 2600.
2600. But it's basically like trying to turn a tank.
Yeah. In combat, it was like controlling a tank.
Yeah,
it's like Resident Evil. Oh, it sucked. But yeah, anyway, Super Mario 64. Real quickly, I played the shit out of. I took fake sick days off of school. That was one of the first games that I abused my parents to falsely claim I was sick to play video games. And and I wrote in some like journal. Like that morning I woke up, it was like 9 a.m. or something like that. You know, like my brother had gone to school. You know, like I pretty much had the house to myself. I was like, all right, cool. Mario 64. I've got 26 stars. You know, this game's awesome. I love this game. Then by the time my brothers got home off the bus, I had like 74 stars in the game. I had enough stars to actually get to the third Bowser fight and beat the game, but I wanted to get all 120 before I did that. And like in like a single day, like I nearly experienced like 60% of the game. And it was ridiculous.
We would play that game so much. We didn't have that many other 64 games, but we would play the game so much where we'd kind of get frustrated or tired with it. And to cool off, we'd play Cruisin' USA.
Yeah.
Terrible game.
Yeah. There was a cool glitch in that game, too, I used to love as a kid. In one of the snow levels in like that third tier hub or fourth tier hub. I think it was the fourth tier. You can get your hat blown off by this gust of wind. And like Mario would pick it up in his hand. And there was a glitch that if you like died in a certain way after that happening, he would remain with his hat off in the castle. And I would like to do that just for no reason, like walk around with this like hatless Mario because I thought he looked cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, anyway, Metal Gear Solid 3, like, I could go into forever. Like, Kate's probably cool with Final Fantasy. There's just a literal oodles of things to do in that game. There's these carotene frogs in every single like map zone that you can get. There's like all the animals and snakes that you can capture and can collect. The camouflage system, all the great boss fights that were in it. I loved those boss fights the most, probably. Just the end of all that game was awesome. Like that was like my favorite Metal Gear at that point. Possibly too because I thought that the story was the most like well paced compared to the other ones, and like it wasn't as nonsensical as the others. Like I felt that was the most complete story that was, that you could actually absorb. And then on top of that, though, they had this Metal Gear Online mode. That was like my first major entry into online gaming. And like I played in like these online tournaments for it, which they rewarded us with a copy of the game we were playing in the tournament, which I didn't understand. Like from my Metal Gear Solid Subsistence disc played, I got a copy of Metal Gear Solid Subsistence for playing in this tournament, which made no sense to me. I mean, like why would they reward that with us? I have no idea. But yeah, I spent so much time in it. And then it was re-released recently in that Metal Gear HD collection. And back when that game came out, I could sink hours and hours into a game. Like I 100%ed Jak and Daxter 1 on my memory card. You had nowhere to like share that with people because that wasn't really like, social gaming days. Yeah. But when they re-released this HD version of Metal Gear Solid 3, I was like, all right, I'm going to get a platinum trophy on this. I absolutely have to do that just because, I've already done it before and it's such a great game. And that's probably my favorite platinum trophy I have. I don't have a lot. I have like Infamous 2 and the Jak HD and Metal Gear Solid 3 HD and maybe one other one. But that's my favorite game that I've gotten a completed trophy from. I literally, like, I could talk forever about it, and it's just boring to hear me talk because I ramble. But that game is just fantastic. Love it every second of it, every aspect of it.
I don't have any platinum trophies.
Yeah. You need to get some. It's hard to...
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, it's hard too for me in this generation because, as I became like an adult who was earning more money and, like I could afford video games and all that stuff. And like, I always had to have the newest consoles, newest systems. And when the new games come out, it was like the same urge and same itch. Like I wanted to play the most current things to be as current as possible. So usually like if some little reason made me like, lose my interest in a game, I would hardly go back to it. So, as we got into this generation, that doubled on to the fact that, I didn't want to focus on a single game. Like I thought in my head I would never get a platinum trophy. And then like one day I accidentally was obsessed with Infamous 2 and I got that platinum trophy and I was like, oh man, like I can do these platinum trophies. So yeah, the other ones came from after that.
Yeah. Should we move on to what you're playing?
Sure.
Hey Rich, what are you playing?
Yeah, I just want to know, I didn't go too far into my Metal Gear Solid 3 love because I will probably be talking regularly about Metal Gear Solid and the franchise and everything. You'll probably, if you listen to these podcasts regularly, learn everything there is to know about Metal Gear. So, you've been warned.
Awesome. Spoiler alert. I've been trying to get through BioShock Infinite the last week, which is an amazing game. I would say control-wise for the combat, it's decent. Like, it's good. I think it's basically the same combat system as the other BioShock games, but the story is crazy. And it's just a really satisfying, gorgeous game to play. But I'm playing that. I'm still playing some Luigi's Mansion on the 3DS. And on Clash of Clans as usual on my iPhone. So that's basically what I'm playing, those three right now.
Nice. Yeah, same. I'm playing BioShock Infinite. Well, I've played a little bit of BioShock Infinite. I'm about 3 hours in, and honestly, I think maybe like an hour of that 3 hours that I've been playing has been me like snapping myself out of whatever I was just staring at, going like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing a game," because the world is so immersive. It's such a trip, and I literally like on whatever night it came out, I had it preloaded on my computer and started playing it, and I was just like, okay, here we go, BioShock. And I loved BioShock 1, and BioShock 2, yep. I had the collector's edition, I cracked into it, and I maybe played like an hour of that game before I was like, this is terrible. But Infinite, it just sucked me in. I was up to like 3 a.m. playing it, and it was just really, really good. And I've also been playing a lot of the Steam indie games that I picked up, Faster Than Light, specifically, which I'm still trying to figure out how to fucking do well at. That game is kick your ass hard.
Kick your ass. Yeah, I've actually got some trying to play some games, which I was surprised by. But I got XCOM. About 4 hours into XCOM. Finally, I know I'm late to that party, but I really dig that game, and I've decided to not constantly reload like those auto saves it gives you to like not let my people die. Because I was like, all right, I don't want my people to die. I want to make all the right moves, and like if I blew something, I was like reloading an auto save, so I probably would have double the time I actually have in the game in it if I wouldn't have like kept trying to go back and be super forgiving to myself. I'm actually thinking about just restarting and turning on that one Iron Man mode or whatever it is, where if you lose a guy, or it keeps your save files in a different way, so that if you die, there's no like retrying or anything like that at all. You lose your guy and you just keep moving forward.
The difficulty is also substantially harder in that mode, Darren.
Oh, then I probably won't do it. I'll probably just I'll keep my discipline and just not reload, unless I lose my character. I'm not going to die. But yeah, played some XCOM, and then I actually put another chapter in Dead Space 3. I think I'm content with never playing co-op in that game, though I'd really love to. Thanks a lot, friends, for never buying it. And there was something else. Oh, I put in a couple more days in Persona 4 Golden. I really like that about Persona 4, is that it's like day by day, like in-game chunks. Like I can literally, if I only play it like 20 minutes in a week, I'm still making baby step progress towards the end result. And I was actually able to put some TV time in the Persona world, and like was just grinding. Like I sat myself down and played for like 2 hours just to like grind and level up and collect some Personas. So the next time I played, I would have a good lead into what I wanted to do.
Such a fun game. I need to go back to start playing that again.
Yeah. But yeah, that's that.
What are you excited for?
Well, The Last of Us, after that trailer, that's that new one that's been out there, and I think that's what I'm most like coming soon, looking forward to, is The Last of Us.
On the coming soon tip, I know this isn't coming soon. What do you think about Metal Gear Solid 5 not having Snake's voice?
I think that it's going to. He tweeted that he has not been asked to do a voice for the Phantom Pain, which they may have not done the like the legitimate voice casting for that, or he could be doing voices for the Ground Zeroes, which is like the prologue to Phantom Pain, and that there's some reason why there won't be that same Snake voice in Phantom Pain. I mean, I think there's
both games are kind of open world, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. Somebody described it possibly as like the Tanker chapter and Plant chapter of Metal Gear Solid 2, like separate entities that are telling one whole story, but are just like like there's a bridge or a gap in time possibly between the two, but they're still connected. I mean, I don't know if they're going to release in the same package or not. There was like confusion as to whether or not they said they were releasing in the same package or not. But yeah, I mean, I know Ground Zeroes is kind of open, and Phantom Pain, it should be. I mean, it looks bizarre. But either way, there's all like the little tidbits and all the teasers, and the fact that it was a Project Ogre game, or whatever that guy's name was, the fake guy with the bandaged mask, and Kojima was like super elusive about all the details about it anyway. I think this is one of those neat like Metal Gear Solid 2 moments where or even 3, where they're just they kept 3's timeline out of in the dark for the longest time. People were wondering why Snake was in like the 70s and the 60s in the jungle when he shouldn't have been that young, and then you found out your big boss way closer to launch. So anyway, I think there's just a lot of hidden elusive Kojima stuff, keeping it in the dark. I think David Hayter will still be doing the voice in it, or at least in Ground Zeroes, and there's going to be a reason for him not to be in Phantom Pain.
He's got Bumblebee's voice from the Transformers movies. He can only speak in audio from radio stations.
I never saw those movies, so I don't know what that means.
You're missing out.
Sure I am.
You're not missing out.
But yeah, cool.
Rich, what are you looking forward to?
I mean, until I'm actually looking forward to, before Last of Us, Metro Last Light. I enjoyed. Did you guys play Metro 2033 or ever check it out or anything?
No, I always wanted to, but I never did.
No, I thought it was a cool game. I thought that as a shooter, it lacked a little. I don't know. I always felt like I was shooting like 2 millimeters off center. Maybe it was just I wasn't playing it right. I don't know, but that's the one thing that kind of killed that game for me. Even though I love the game in general, but it kind of always made me think about playing it before I started playing it. But what I thought was really amazing, that for being a game that kind of came out of nowhere when it was released, it was incredibly polished in terms of its environments, the situations that were going on. When you'd walk into like these little makeshift towns, when you walk into these little makeshift towns in the underground subways where everyone was at, you really got the sense of the environment. They were filled with people you could talk to. You know, it just felt like a fleshed out world for such a game that just, I didn't even hear about it until maybe the week before we got it or before it came out. And I was like, well, I'll give this game a shot. The bartering system with your ammo I thought was really cool. I'm a real big fan of the Resident Evil days where you had to hoard all your ammo and hoard your health and try not to use your stuff because it's super limited. So I thought it was cool that in Metro, you know, your bullets were your money and your money were your bullets. So you kind of had to really think about what you were doing in terms of spending, in terms of even when you were getting into gunfights, like, oh, should I use these type of bullets? These bullets are worth more than these bullets. Should I use this? Should I not? Should I try to melee more? Should I try to use this? So I thought it was a really cool game. So I'm really looking forward to the story in the second one. Looking forward to how all the mechanics are fleshed out now that they have a lot more money behind the franchise to get it done. We almost lost it with THQ closing down, but luckily it was picked up by Deep Silver, who does Dead Island. So hopefully they got. I'm pretty sure it was done before they picked it up. So I'm really really intrigued and really excited to play it.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to Soul Sacrifice. Comes out at the end of the month. Very excited.
Oh yeah, that'll be cool. Get some multiplayer on that.
But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for us for this episode. And follow us on Twitter. You can find it all in the show notes. Just see the podcast info. Pass it on to your friends. We got some raffles going on soon. Right now, when we hit 500 followers on Twitter, I'm giving away the Mortal Kombat PlayStation Collector's Edition with the Sub-Zero and Scorpion bookends. Coming up after that, I have the BioShock 2 Collector's Edition. Coming up after that, I have the Skyrim Collector's Edition. So follow us. And
cool.
Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yeah, no teaser for what the show will be next week, but we have something cool for you then too.
It'll be a surprise.
For Rich Chabot and Darren Hupke, I am Casey Hupke, and this has been Pass the Controller.
Sweet.